David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. What I have for you today is a pen which was released last year from Montblanc's Great Character series. It's a pen which was named for a cultural icon whose fame has resonated long after their death, which was around 65 years ago. The pen is the Montblanc James Dean. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Montblanc James Dean, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Joost from Alphabom for providing this unique pen on loan for review. And there is a lot to cover on this pen, so this review will be a bit longer. But I found the information about this pen to be rather interesting, so I hope you feel the same way. I feel that nowadays, especially to younger folks, James Dean is more known as someone who's almost considered to be more of almost a mythical character than the actor he was. He portrayed characters with rough edges. He had only 3 acting credits to his name. He appeared uncredited in several others, but while the younger generation might know his name and know the famous photograph of him walking down the middle of a street, I feel that they would be hard-pressed to name any of his 3 films, those being East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant. Dean died at the age of 24, and for his work in East of Eden in 1956, he received the first posthumous acting nomination in Academy Awards history. In the very next year, in 1957, he received another posthumous Oscar nomination for his work in the film Giant. So, let's take a look at this pen. It arrives in this very cool box. It has a checkered flag motif to represent Dean's love of cars and racing. Also included is this rather large manual. Montblanc does a great job with the documentation accompanying their Great Characters line. It always contains a lot of really helpful information and useful information about the pen as well as the inspiration behind it. The lid on the box flips open, and inside we have the pen. This is the Montblanc James Dean. This pen is made from Montblanc's precious resin, and the trim is both platinum and ruthenium coated. The design for this pen draws its inspiration from each of Dean's 3 films. To begin with, the pen is in the shape of a switchblade, which refers to his film Rebel Without a Cause, in which there was a famous knife fight at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. The precious red resin of the cap and barrel is a reference to the vibrant color of Dean's red jacket in the film. And then the notched pattern of the cap and the barrel recalls the structure of jeans, something that he often wore in his film. In 2013, the knife used in the film Rebel Without a Cause was actually sold at auction for $20,000. And it was an actual knife, not a fake screen prop. In all of the fight scenes in the film, the actors were all wielding real knives. They were all actually outfitted with chainmail tunics underneath their shirts to protect them during filming. You can tell that the overall look of the actual knife actually differs from this pen, but there are a number of features that are similar. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. There is a lot going on in this part of the pen, with a ton of symbolism. The top of the finial is adorned with a couple of things. There is the Montblanc Snowcap logo, much smaller than I've seen on other Montblanc pens. Then on either side of the emblem, you have 2 dates written in the European style of day, month, year, and those are the dates of Dean's birth as well as his death. The platinum-coated finial contains a reference to Dean's first film, East of Eden, which was the only one of his 3 films released before his death. It has some ornate engraving, which is in the pattern of a dollar bill. You can see the ones on either side of the finial. Money plays a key plot point in the film, which is a modern retelling of the biblical story of Cain and Abel. The finial flares out a bit. On an actual knife, this flare would be at the base of the knife so you could better maintain your grip and not have it slip out of your hand. Below the finial, there is a band engraved with the famous James Dean quote, "Live as you will die today, dream as if you'll live forever." It's a little odd because the word die is directly under the clip, so you have to kind of pull out the hinged clip a bit in order to actually see the word. I get the feeling this was out of necessity. It's a rather lengthy phrase, and in order to have it work all the way around the clip, they would have had to significantly decrease the font size, and it would have been harder to read this with the naked eye. So as it stands, the font is a nice, legible size. Speaking of the clip, like many of the other features of this pen, it represents one of Dean's films, this one being Giant. The ruthenium-coated clip is inspired by the shotgun that his character carried on his shoulders in one of the most famous scenes. The inlay on the side of the cap is inspired by the pattern of a bullet. And I feel it actually has dual meanings because in my mind, it also represents the button that you find on the side of a switchblade knife that actually activates the knife, or activates the blade. Okay, I did say there was a lot going on in that section of the pen. The cap tapers up just a bit, about 1 millimeter from this point to this point, and then it is straight. And at the end of the barrel, there is a cap band which is free from any markings or engravings. There is a medium-sized step down to the barrel which tapers down very slightly, less than 1 millimeter from beginning to end. At the end of the barrel, there is a silver band engraved with GPS coordinates. These are the coordinates to the spot in Cholam, California, which was the spot of the car accident that took Dean's life in September of 1955. From all accounts, there was no indication that Dean was speeding or driving recklessly. A car driving in the opposite direction was attempting to make a left-hand turn across a 2-lane freeway and came into the oncoming lanes of traffic, and there was a collision. This pen is a piston filler, and the remainder of this portion of the pen is a piston knob, which on the very end is slightly rounded. The piston knob here is meant to represent the blade of the switchblade. The cap twists off. Now, there is an inner cap tensioned with a spring. It's a mechanism similar to what you'll find on the Platinum 3776 models. When you're capping the pen, you get to a certain point, and then there's an increase in tension for the final half turn, where the end of the section actually begins to make contact with the inner cap. The capping is very smooth, and the transition to the increased tension isn't awkward at all. Once you have this cap removed, underneath is a very cool looking rhodium-coated 14-karat gold nib. On the nib, it is engraved with some checkered flags, and on it is also 2Z77767, which was the license plate of Dean's beloved Porsche 550 Spyder, the car he was driving at the time of his death. And this nib is actually engraved, not stamped. And while engraved nibs have a tendency to not look as good as those that are stamped, in my opinion, the engraving on this nib is actually of very high quality, and I think it looks great. The engraving actually adds another visual element to the nib, one that stamping really couldn't provide. And I like that the year of this pen's release is on the nib as well. For this pen, it was released in 2018. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with a flare and tapers up a minute amount, only about 0.5 millimeter from beginning to end. This transitions to the threads, which I don't find to be sharp at all, and a medium-sized step up to the barrel. The section is platinum-coated metal, and while I typically don't care for metal sections, I really don't find this one to be slippery at all. I have no issues maintaining a decent grip while writing with this pen. The pen does not post, which is fine. This is a rather large, heavy, and back-weighted cap. You wouldn't want to post that even if you could. The Montblanc James Dean retails for right around $850, which I really don't feel to be an unreasonable price for what you receive with this pen. I feel it looks really sharp, and I love all of the symbolism. And as you'll see in the writing sample, it performs outstanding as well. If you are a fan of James Dean and this pen is within your price range, then I feel that this is pretty much a must-buy for you. I'm going to regret giving this pen back. Thanks go out to Applebaum for the loan of this very interesting pen. You can check out the link in the notes below to visit the Applebaum site where you can learn more about this and other amazing pens. Applebaum has a great selection. Applebaum actually also posted a great video about the history of their shop that was really nice. I'll put a link to it in the notes below as well. I'd recommend checking that out. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. With some size comparisons for the Montblanc James Dean. Here it is with another Montblanc, which is the 149, and then a couple of pens in the Great Character series. Here it is with a Montblanc Alfred Hitchcock, and then here it is with a Montblanc Marilyn Monroe. It's been said that Marilyn Monroe and James Dean actually never met. There is one celebrity, I believe an actress by the name of Shelley Winters, who claims that she saw them together at a party once, but she's like literally the only person to ever say that. So even though they were celebrities at the same time, it's disputed whether or not they actually met face to face or not. And then in regard to a couple of other pens, here it is with a Classic Pens LB5, an ASC Arco Bologna, and then here it is with a Sailor King of Pen Pro Gear Sky. So here we go with the writing sample for the Montblanc. James Dean. This is a 14 karat gold medium nib. And the ink that I'm using today is Diamine Poppy Red. They do make an accompanying red ink that is a similar red to the resin on this pen. I don't happen to have that, but Diamine Poppy Red is one of my favorite reds. It just has a nice pop to it, and this is what it looks like. Here is what that looks like in regard to another red, the Oroshizuku Momiji, which has a little bit more pink in it. And then here's another red, another deeper red called Thornton's Red, which is one of my kind of more favorite reds that pop a bit. Diamine makes some great inks. This is their smaller 30 milliliter bottle, and that I really like this poppy red. Here we go with the rest of the writing sample. This rhodium-coated nib is very nice. It's decently smooth. You can get a little bit of flex out of here. I find that the ink flow is very good on this pen. And in regard to some reverse writing, it's a little bit on the scratchy side, but in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. So here we have the Montblanc James Dean. Like I said, I love the symbolism on this pen. I love the looks of it. I can't say that I'm a huge James Dean fan. I have no problem with him, but it's not like it's someone that I tremendously look up to or am a huge fan of, but I am a fan of this pen, and I care for this thing a great deal because I think they did it right and that they did a good job of representing who the person was and putting that into a pen. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.